What if your agentic AI apps could access real-time consented data to give customers what they want, when, where, and how they want it? Welcome to One Amazing Thing About Tealium. Today we're talking with BJ Allmon, Senior Product Manager for AI at Tealium, and he's going to be sharing one amazing thing about their Model Context Protocol with us today. BJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing this in action here in a minute. Before we do that, though, why don't we start with you giving a little background on yourself and your role at Tealium?
Thanks for having me, Greg. It's good to be here today. I'm excited to be here. And my name is BJ Allmon. I'm a product manager for Tealium, a senior product manager for AI, building products for about 25 years, and started my journey in heavy engineering and then a lot of back-end apps and products, and have made my way into more of the product space and delivery. Still getting my hands dirty with software engineering as well, experimenting with the team, and excited to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and you're going to be sharing the Model Context Protocol with us today. Could you, before you start sharing, could you talk a little bit, what is this feature, who's the audience, and why is it important to them?
Yeah, so the last year, there have been a couple innovations around the AI space for protocols. So whenever we see things in new spaces, newer spaces, I know AI is not new, but some of the frameworks that have been popping up and some of the advancements with LLMs, large language models, have ushered in some new frameworks and protocols that just whenever we see that, it's a hint to making things accessible for engineers and product teams to build products in a kind of a uniform way. Standards, of course, especially protocols like MCP or A2A, for example, which is a agent to agent that Google produced. MCP is more of a standard for allowing a standard way to be able to have a model access, mind you, data that's not readily available to it, that we would normally have to stuff in the front door for through a process called prompt stuffing. So we feed the LLM a message from a human input or from a system that says do a thing, and we stuff a bunch of data in the front door. Well, with MCP, we give the model instructions, and instead the model determines if it needs to reach out and get that data via the MCP tool that we pass in. So we pass in basically just a descriptor that says, here's how to get to the data if you need it. Really, really cool. And it cuts down on like token usage, because sometimes it doesn't need to go grab that data again. You don't always have to jam the data in the front door and use those tokens. So operational efficiency improves. And then also you should see some even probably like network latency improvements and things like that. So
Nice. Well,
yeah,
yeah, let's take a look. Why don't you share your screen?
yeah, absolutely. Right. Let me get here. All right. So I'd be amiss if I didn't show this. This app that I'm showing you right now is a fictitious sporting goods store called Rick's Sporting Stuff. It tells a better story than me just kind of showing code and
Sure.
the details. But if you want to get to this, here's the GitHub for it: BJ Allman Tealium /MCP chatbot app. So what's going on here is that, and I'll just refresh so you can kind of get a feel right away. I get this little star by my name because I'm logged in as a VIP user, customer. And there's two different types of personalization happening. One is, a first page personalization. As soon as I log in, this app reaches out to a product that Tealium has called Moments API. And Moments API is a rocket ship of an app of a API for getting your customer data your visitor data, and being able to use that for first page personalization and beyond, and app personalization. It allows our customers to actually create little endpoint engines with data at the end that's very specific for a given need. Like a first page personalization, I may only need audiences, but when I start to go knee deep in product detail pages and things like that from a retail perspective, um, I may want different types of data pertinent to that audience or that specific product line or so on and so forth. So um, this just tells me that I'm a VIP user. I have a little star by my name. I'll show you what a non-VIP user looks like um, real quick here. So a non-VIP user doesn't have a star, and I get a little promo here. Okay,
Oh,
for 25% off. You see this little guy down here. Let me find him. There we go.
nice.
So it's just, that's a first page personalization. Instead of the star, I get a little promo. I'll show you that again now that you see it. Comes in pretty fast, starts to fade in right away. And what you'll see from the app is this is a conversational AI app. This is fully generated from the model and the prompt engineering. So it's just a basic, what I would consider like a RAG app, except for I'm not prompt stuffing the retrieval. I'm using MCP tools for both a product catalog and the visitor data from Moments API for the LLM to reason between those two disparate data sets. Okay, so the model is reaching out through MCP and grabbing those two disparate data sources and then using that together in conjunction to create a reasonable response based on a simple prompt. And it really is a simple prompt if you look at the code base. The LLM TypeScript file will show you that. Um, so what we have here we'll call this a frequent visitor, not a VIP member, are 10% deals. It's a certain talk track. Welcome back, frequent visitor. You have access to some great deals. Here are a few products you might be interested in. And then to unlock even better deals, consider joining our VIP program for exclusive discounts. Now, these are slight nudges to a LLM model to say, hey, encourage them to join the VIP member if they're not, join the club if they're not in the club, and limit and then also a guard for deals, promos. I didn't have to really break my neck to, put a bunch of conditional deterministic logic in there to say if this then that and all this for these deals. They're able to just I was able to just create a simple prompt that says, if they're not a VIP member, limit their discounts to 10%.
Mm,
Okay,
got it.
and so it does that, and I can kind of click through here, and it'll fetch deals. So the reason why I created this menu is to show you that to have a conversational app, you don't necessarily have to have, a talking LLM, chatbot
Yeah,
interface.
yeah,
You can tuck a lot. I don't have to show this for instance, this way. I can, tuck logic behind buttons, and, that really hit the LLM and says things like fetch deals for apparel or do a thing. And I can display that in a lot of different ways through a modal, through all kinds of UX experiences. So it doesn't have to be a chatbot. I'm just doing it this way so you can really see the interaction in real time.
yeah, yeah.
So as you can see here, there's some deals here. There are some deals that are for members. So it'll tell you, like, hey, like to unlock more, like, subscribe and stuff like that. So I'm going to go in here and now I'm going to go back to my VIP user and it'll say welcome. So the talk track for the LLM is a little bit different coming from the response from the model. I'm getting a different response. I can see 20% deals. These are exclusive deals, for VIP members, obviously. And when I go back to that apparel or electronics or equipment, I'll see better deals as well. Um, 20% off,
Got it. Yeah.
50% off on that one. There's some more here. You can kind of see better there. And then obviously I can use the chat as well and say, looking for fishing and camping, and do it that way as well. And it'll find stuff like that. So that's the app in a nutshell. It really shows two different types of personalization. One's a first page where if you want first page personalization, you go and get the stuff and immediately, and that stuff's loaded before the rest of the page, sometimes
Yeah.
with Moments API. Um, if we're talking about model personalization, I'm in this case, I'm feeding MCP tools to the model and allowing it to go get the data it needs instead of prompt stuffing, basically, which is
Yeah.
what we would normally do
Yeah. And
last year.
so, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So with, so it sounds like there's, I mean, there's definitely speed gains. There's, uh, special there's obviously there's personalization because you're getting the first party data. Is it also talk a little bit about the prompt stuffing? I mean, is it, do the large language models not perform as well when you're doing prompt stuffing, or like what are some of the reasons why prompt stuffing is bad?
So it, the the main culprit for prompt stuffing is one, you're always feeding the model with the data, even if it doesn't need it most of the time.
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
have some logic that reasons and says, you're building more logic that way. So there's a little bit more engineering around, hey, only use, like, for instance, like dependency injection or something, patterns where only use these things if you need it, and blah blah blah. And you have a lot of more engineering heavy activity to manage what goes into the prompt as far as data. Um, the other thing is the amount of tokens in the context window of the LLM that's available for the context of what you're performing. If that gets too large and you're always, well, I need to give it all this data, like, because it needs to reason based on the human input. So I'm either have a high lag up front where I'm using classifier models or things to determine what's needed, and that's a slower feedback loop, or I'm using something like MCP to say, allow the model to determine that, and none of that stuff came through the front door, but a simple prompt on, or my instructions basically for the app, the prompt engineering side. And I allow the model framework to go and invoke those APIs that are needed for necessary data.
Yeah.
And so, it's able to, we allow the model to kind of reason with what it needs. And we're at that stage right now from a engineering perspective that we can do that, which is
Yeah.
exciting. And that's
Well, and
that's
I would
kind of the
imagine,
really exciting for
yeah,
AI.
yeah. I mean, and those tokens, I mean, that's, it sounds like that's both it's expensive from a time and a cost perspective, right? Over time. I mean, if you're an enterprise company and there's thousands of people using this chat interface, for instance, I mean, that gets so, in other words, every time you can be more efficient using something like what you're showing here, you're saving something. You're either saving customer frustration because it's quicker, or you're saving dollars, or sometimes both, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely more efficient all the way around, with whether it's engineering time spent or because once you have the tool in place, for instance, the tool spec in place, you have either services from Tealium that you can wrap in an MCP tool, and or you're creating a tool instance for external APIs or internal APIs that you have, um, to use once and for all. You have now a standard kind of interface that you can use for all your AI apps. So
Got
you
it.
can
Okay.
you can you can pass that tool spec into whatever agent you have running on your end, um, for your business. And so it's kind of nice from a standards perspective too. Interacting with Moments API or Tealium's Visitor Profile API or any of the APIs we have, even Collect uh, for collection, because Tealium, you can do collect, enrichment, and activation inside of Tealium. So any of the APIs available to do those tasks, you can wrap with the MCP tool spec, and so that's exciting. That's Tealium's in a really great place to be able to take advantage of MCP for your AI apps, and it's we're really strong on the latency side and real timeness of your data getting updated, and then also availability of that data outbound when you need it. So
Yeah,
it's
love
a
it.
good companion for your AI apps, and that's what this demo's here for, is to kind of demonstrate that.
Yeah, love it. Well, thanks so much for sharing this, BJ. What would, for those that are interested in learning more, that like what they see but want to learn a little bit more, what would be a next step for them to take?
Yeah, you can definitely check out everything going on at Tealium.com. We have a lot of resources out there around AI and kind of where we're heading, and a lot of information on our website. You can also check out, the MCP demo app that I provided. I don't know, Greg, if you want to put a link there or not
Yeah, we
for
can
for
definitely do that.
visitors,
Yeah.
but that's available, to take a peek at if you want to tinker around with it yourself and build your own MCP type app. Or if you're a Tealium customer, definitely using Tealium, obviously in that way, is exciting. But yeah, then Anthropic has a lot of good information on MCP. They came out with the standard.
Well, yeah, we'll put some links in the show notes then.
All right.
Well, again, I'd like to thank BJ Allmon, Senior Product Manager for AI at Tealium, for joining the show. You can learn more about BJ and Tealium by following the links in the show notes.